springs. He would want springs. We have these little plastic-coated springs. They're about that long. If you're, they can't see me. They're about
they will
as long
in a
as
second.
your thumb, and like if you throw them, the cats go bananas for them. They absolutely love them. And when they catch one, and they're carrying it around in their mouth, it looks adorable.
All right, so they should be able to see you now. It's a little bit out of the box, but I can work with that. Yeah, it's not too bad. It'll be all right for now. All right, so if you just speak for us, this feels really weird being on the other side of doing this.
I know we've done this so much with me recording everything, and now you're recording stuff.
So, chat, can you hear Run nice and loud? Let me turn the music off because the music is.
So I'm gonna say things about things. There's Morgan 13 there. Hello, Morgan 13. We got Joel Mead. What is going on? Oh, Kodiak Moonwolf says video thing.
Yeah, I
Video
think
thing, the radio star. Joel Mead 24. We'll call it the Bald and the Butcher. That is a great name for a podcast that we could do.
Yeah, that's an incredible name. That has to be a podcast name.
But if I stop shaving my head, then we would have to stop the show, I guess.
Yeah, that wouldn't work, would it?
Or when you get your degree and start teaching history.
Yeah, it still wouldn't work. Yeah, that's very true. I can hear him slightly more quiet than you. So hang on. So I can hear him slightly more quiet than you. So I need to turn you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so. I'll keep talking. You can look at your levels in OBS and you can see where I'm peaking.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep talking at my normal level. Zap has 65 videos on his Twitch page.
They're all rubbish. Don't look at them. Don't watch a single one. It would be.
He's following 114 people.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that just doesn't follow anybody. Well, 114 people got my follow. I actually need to go through that list and actually see who they are. It would become podcast formerly known as the Bald and the Butcher. Ah, that's what would happen if you grew your hair and I got a history degree. So is Run Jump any louder? Wow.
Am I any louder, you guys? You don't have like a little indicator on OBS?
I do, yeah. And it seems to be peaking up quite nicely.
Is it in the yellow?
Yes.
Are you in the yellow when you talk?
A little bit. That's a bit more okay. We change it to history in the hair. Yes. So they said we sound good. So,
all right. Well, clearly they need to have their ears checked.
This is true. Right. So everyone's going to lose Run's face for a second because Audacity's going to flash over the screen. It's nothing personal. Okay. Right. And you should be back. Okay. So I'll quickly explain. I'm going to explain a little bit more, obviously, when we do the recording, but I'll explain kind of what's going on. So before I went on holiday, I kind of just had this brain idea of getting into interviewing people, and I thought, who better to start with than this man here? And what we're going to do is we're going to basically push Run onto a desert island and leave him there, because that's the nice thing we do here. Okay, and what we're going to find out tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever you are in the world, what games Run would like to be stranded on a desert island with. So he was given, before this week, he was given 5 categories to pick from. And like I said, as I record, I'll explain all these categories, and we'll then have a delve into Runjump's history and present gaming, where his fan stuff is. So this is a bit about you, Run, tonight. This is all about you.
I'm the center of the universe.
You are now the center of the universe. So we've got to do a mic thing, haven't we? That we normally do.
Yep. Should I start recording?
Yep.
Okay, I am recording. Actually, yeah. Okay. So then what you want to do, or what we had to do in the past, is we want to isolate some audio. So we need to shut up for like 10 seconds, and then you can do the little countdown, and we'll do our stupid clap thing where we clap 3 times in unison.
Yep. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. All right, I think that'll work. I think I was. Oh, I thought I was recording in stereo for a second. I was like, nope. So right. Tracks, add new mono. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna blur for a bit, for a second, and then we're gonna crack on. So, hello guys, welcome. My name is Zap. Welcome to the first episode of Desert Island Games. Forgot what I was going to call it there for a second. And we are joined by a very special friend of mine. He is across the pond in the United States of America. His name is Runjumpstomp. Say hello, Runjump.
Hey, how's it going, Zap?
It's going well, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining me on the first episode of this very interesting little podcast that I'm gonna be doing. So, Desert Island Games, I have sent Runjump a list of categories. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna push Runjump on a boat, so he's stranded on a desert island because we are that nice. And he has only 5 games that he can actually keep with him at all times while he's stranded on this desert island. Now, 4 of these are a good choice. And one of these is the last category, which is the bin category, where if he gets rescued, he can leave that game there and he can be rescued, and that game is stranded on the island for all eternity. And what the viewer will do is vote if they agree with his choice. So Runjump can make the choice as controversial as he likes. Depends on how mean he's feeling. So these game categories are childhood, retro, current, guest choice, and game to bin or game to keep stranded. So are you ready to be our castaway for the first episode run?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay, so without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's do this. Before I start, I'm gonna do a little bit of this. If you then just intro yourself and plug everything that you want to plug. All right, just go mad and go nuts and plug it all, and then we'll crack on with the show. All right.
Sure.
So before we start, I want Runjump to introduce himself a little bit and give us a little rundown of where we can find him, because he is a very incredibly talented content creator here on Twitch and does an incredible podcast. But without me spilling the guts, Runjump, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
My name is Bill. I run Runjumpstomp.com. You can find everything that I do right there. I stream on Twitch. I have YouTube videos, and of course, I have my podcast, Nintendo Switchcraft, which talks all about Nintendo. And Zap and I had worked together for it seems like a long time ago. We used to be on my podcast together, and that was the podcast called Run Jump Stomp, and that was just general gaming stuff. But I don't do that one anymore. It's just runjumpstomp.com.
Cool. So that's where you can find him, guys. So if you are listening and you don't know who this chap is, please go follow him. Go do all the good stuff. It's been a pleasure to always work with him and always talk with him. And if you go over to his streams, follow him, give him some love, because he is a very, very good content creator. So,
thanks, man.
That's all right. My mum always told me not to tell lies. So, all right, okay, so as I said at the beginning of the show, we are going to discuss some games. And as I said, I sent Bill a list of games. And the first game category was your favorite childhood game. Firstly, Bill, when do you remember picking up the controller? When was at that point you really remembered or thought, this is it? I like playing games?
Well, it's funny. Like every time I tell anybody this, I have to qualify a couple things. My grandmother worked in a bar or owned a bar. I can't really remember which. But she basically had the day shift where you would go in there and there would just be all the harmless barflies there. And in the summertime on vacation, my mom would go there during the day and sit at the bar and talk to her mom. And they would give me a big stack of quarters out of the register, which I would then go around the corner to the pool room, and I would alternate between playing pool and playing Donkey Kong, because there was a Donkey Kong machine there. And I would play hours and hours of both of those. And Donkey Kong was my first time playing a video game, and I had so much fun with it. And then my first console that I ever had was the Atari 2600. Was it? I, I I don't remember the order of things that happened in, but it was either the ColecoVision or the Atari 2600. The ColecoVision we had gotten secondhand, and it didn't work all the time, but it was the one that. And for the younger people, you're going to be really amazed by this, but in order to switch between like hockey and tennis, you had plastic sheets that would stick to the static on the television, and that's how you would change the game that you were playing, was by putting these colored plastic sheets on the TV. So that was my first console, and then the first one that I actually really got into was the Atari 2600. My mom and I lived across the street from a golf course, and I would go into the woods on the other side of the golf course, and I would find golf balls there, and then I would go back to the pro shop and sell them to the golfers for a quarter a piece. And I saved up enough money to buy myself a secondhand Atari 2600 and a few games from a guy that worked with my mom at the drugstore. And it was all downhill after that. Like I just played hours and hours of games on my Atari.
Nice. Okay, so from that, your first childhood, what is the childhood game that you would take as a castaway on a desert island?
You know, I had trouble deciding about this one. I thought I kind of had two in mind that I played a lot on the Atari 2600, and that was Pitfall and River Raid. I think that River Raid is probably the better game, but I figure if I'm going to be on a desert island, I thought that even though I loved River Raid and I would play that game for hours, I never finished Pitfall. I would always get, I don't know, probably like 6 or 7 screens and then get killed. So I figured if I'm going to bring this on the desert island with me and I have to play it, then maybe I would finally finish Pitfall, or at least, roll over and get back to the beginning. Cause I think that's what my friends and I would talk about. We would always talk about how in Pitfall, if you got to the end of the game, you ended up right back at the beginning, because at the very beginning of the game, you could go left or right. And we just assumed that they would wrap around. But I to this day, I don't know. I never looked it up. So I think I would bring Pitfall. It was a really fun game.
Pitfall. There you go, guys. So Pitfall will be the first game. Maybe you should stream it. Maybe you should try and find a way of streaming Pitfall, because you need.
I got it on my Retro Pi.
You've got to find out if that screen wraps around, dude. you can't leave it there.
Have you ever played Pitfall?
No, I haven't. And this is one of the reasons why I did this kind of this show. I want to hear what people used to play and what they were doing, and to hear some of these fantastic games and stuff that made people gamers. It's that kind of start, that fire, that spark that puts people that controller in a hand. So things like that sounds a brilliant game that I think I'm going to have to try at some point. So, all right. So Pitfall, we're going to call that childhood Pitfall.
Or are we stopping between segments?
I have been, because that's what I naturally do for a show, but it doesn't matter if you do or you don't.
Okay.
Because I can soon cut the waffling. It's absolutely fine. It's only because it's what I naturally try and do. Although I should just probably let it roll. It would have been easier.
Yeah, it will be easier for you to do that with when you have a guest.
Right.
When I do it by myself, I cut between segments just like you do.
They are. See, I'm learning, chat. Learning all the time. That's why we got Run Jump here first as well. So basically, I can take all his knowledge and then improve going forward. You see, that's okay. So we've had his first game. His first game was Pitfall, and we're now going to find out his second. His second game was Retro. Now, the this is going to cause a little bit of confusion for some people because it's like some of the games from the childhood are retro games, but there has to be an ultimate retro. Everyone has a retro game that they want to go to all the time. So this is why it's in there. They're a retro game that they can't. Their brain goes, oh, I love a bit of this, I love a bit of that, and it's just a retro game. So Run Jump, you're stranded. What's the retro game that you're after?
This one was super easy to decide on. No contest at all. Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. That game like blew me away. I remember that I had played the first one on the NES and talking about it with my friends at the playground. We would talk about, oh, did you find this? Oh, did you find that? And then when the sequel came out and we were playing that, I remember the moment where you defeat the wizard and then you end up in the dark world, and we were like, oh my god, this world that I've been wandering around in, there's a second one. We were just absolutely, I was just floored by that. And it's got super tight controls that they just always feel perfect. You never feel like when you die it's because the game screwed up. You always feel like it's because, nope, that's on me, I screwed it up. The music in that game is just amazing. I listened to that like quite often when I was a kid. If I misbehaved, my parents would take my controllers away. They would leave the games thinking, well, he can't do anything with them, he doesn't have a controller. And that was an easy thing to do rather than grab a stack of games and put them someplace. So what I would do is I would put in a game and turn on my system, and I would just have the TV on. I would listen to the music while reading a Electronic Gaming Monthly or Nintendo Power or whatever. These are old magazines from back in the day. I would read about video games while listening to video game music, and Zelda music is some of the best of all time. So Zelda Link to the Past is amazing, and I couldn't pick anything else for my favorite retro game.
Wow, I actually thought that it was either going to be a Zelda or a Mario. I couldn't pinpoint just from knowing you and talking to you, and obviously doing the work that we had done together before. And I thought to myself, because I'm going to try and guess the games from obviously, but the childhood one I would never have guessed. But Zelda was like, and I was just wondering if it'll be a Zelda. It's really cool to hear what Zelda actually did for you. I never knew that your parents would take the controllers away and you would then listen to the soundtrack. That's an amazing way of doing it, So nice. So
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like chiptunes music so much. I'm a big fan of that genre. That's where if anybody's listening doesn't know what chiptunes is, it's basically people take old video game hardware and repurpose it to make music, which is really inventive and also really crazy that they can manage to do that. And I feel like the reason I like it so much is because I almost feel like it's hard to make a song sound sad or like aggressive with chip tunes. Everything always sounds happy, and I love that kind of music. And it's because my parents used to take my controllers away, and that's what I would listen to.
So there you go. So Zelda is runs retro choice. Good choice that. I've played a little bit of that myself. I've never completed it, but should really actually get around to completing it. So we've had runs childhood and retro. We're going to hear the game from the current generation. Now, I never put a timestamp on the current generation. I would say it's PS4, Xbox One, and this current generations of PC hardware of a game from those kind of spanning eras. So, Run, what would be your game from the current generation of games? And do remember, guys, there are hundreds of games out there that cover 8-bit kind of games we get in this day and age. We get the 16-bit style, and we've got your big, beautiful God of Wars. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what your current game would be, what you take to a desert island.
Well, I have to ask a question.
Go on.
Before I can answer this. Is there internet? Like, can I play an online game?
No. You are stranded. It's you and yourself.
Okay. Well, in that case, I can't do any of the ones that I was going to pick except for Breath of the Wild. Like Breath of the Wild, I was not going to pick. I was going to pick other stuff, but because there's no internet, it's going to have to be Breath of the Wild. I already have 200 hours into that game, and I know that if I sat down and started a fresh copy right now, I would get sucked into it almost immediately. There would be no choice about it, and that's why I haven't put the game into my system in probably 3 or 4 months, because if I did, I would have to keep playing it because it is just so addictive. If there were internet, I had like 3 or 4 other choices that I was looking at and trying to decide between. But since there's no internet, then it's going to have to be Breath of the Wild, the greatest game of all time.
I remember when we did our game of the year, and I kind of ate my words this year with Breath of the Wild, and I put Mario Odyssey at the top of my list. And then I sat back down with Breath of the Wild and realized I was a dumb nut and realized that Breath of the Wild is that good. And if people don't know, my Switch has gone off to Nintendo for the second time to be repaired. And they have confirmed that I will end up getting a new Switch, which does mean my 100 hours in Breath of the Wild is gone. It's they can't keep my save data, so I've got to do all that again. But I'm looking forward to it. So chat, I think, also want to know what multiplayer game was at the top of your list. If there was internet, and I may be lenient and let you know. I want to know.
Maybe I smuggled my phone in with me. I could do a hotspot.
Yeah, that's it. So, what internet game was it that you would take from the current generation?
Well, it's tough for me to say current generation because this game is 12 years old, but like there's a new one coming out right now, and that's World of Warcraft. I feel like I could play World of Warcraft forever, especially if I didn't have any other games to choose from. I would be perfectly fine playing WoW. I mean, I played World of Warcraft for 7 years, and it was pretty much the only game that I played for those 7 years. I've been playing it on and off since beta, and I only took like 2 breaks, maybe probably a year at each time, and it's just such an amazing game. I still have like nostalgic feelings for that first time that I loaded into World of Warcraft, and I think I was playing a dwarf. Yeah, I was playing a dwarf, and I think it was a dwarven rogue, and I was wandering around in the woods outside the dwarven starting area. I can't remember the name of it, and the thing that was so crazy about I really felt lost. Like I felt like, oh, this is the wilderness. And it was really a cool feeling, and I'll never get that back again because I played WoW so much. And even there we go. Morgan 13 in chat, it has nailed it. It's called Dunmoro, and that is the place where I was playing my dwarf. That game is just amazing, and I want to play it again. I can't wait for the new expansion, and I'm trying not to buy it. Like right now, I re-up my subscription, and how do I want to say? I re-upped my subscription and then immediately canceled so that it wouldn't automatically tick over if I don't keep playing.
Yeah.
And it keeps telling me, hey, you've got an upgrade available. You can buy the new hotness, and I'm like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I can't decide. It's that game is just too good.
I reinstalled it. I did. Papa Dollar, hello, welcome. Yeah, I did reinstall it. But there's internet, but you can't chat to anyone. You're not allowed to talk to a single person. You can't. I'm stuck on a desert island. Help me. So,
that's fine. I can turn off chat.
So there you go. So maybe I'll be lenient in the future and say one no internet and one internet game. So that'd be quite cool. But so World of Warcraft, but Zelda Breath of the Wild, if it was a purely no internet zone, is your current game. And I think that comes as no surprise because I've heard your once I did defeat Gammon, as he's known in my household, not Ganon, Gammon. My son runs around and goes, Have you defeated Gammon yet? What?
That's
So,
adorable.
so once I finally, I went back and listened to your show you did with Brav, when you just do your spoiler stuff, and the actual joy, you can hear the joy in your voice for Zelda Breath of the Wild, and you know as you're talking about it, you've got this massive grin on your face of everything that you're discussing. It's just a wonderful thing to know that there are games out there that can do that for you, that can do that for any human, and when they just say that games shouldn't be classed as like the same media as films or books, they really should, because gaming brings joy to everyone in different ways, and you can tell with Zelda it's definitely that game that has done that from the Nintendo Switch release. So we've heard the first three. We've heard Runjump's childhood, retro, and his current game. Now this one's a curveball. Runjump had the pick of the litter here. He could choose any game he wanted. This was his own choice. There was no stipulation. It could be from any era. It could be anything. What is your guest choice game, Runjump?
So just any game that I want to bring with me. No, there's no restrictions at all.
No, you could. It's any game from any generation. I think we've established there's now internet on this desert island.
That's got to be Overwatch. Overwatch is an incredibly addictive shooter, and anytime that you get bored with it, you just play another character, and the other character plays. And the thing that they've done in Overwatch that I think is just amazing is they made every single character feel unique, and it almost feels like a different game every time that you play. And I don't ever see myself really getting tired of that game. I certainly know it's not the first hero shooter, and it won't be the last, but right now it is the best, and it's not a huge surprise. I mean, Blizzard made the game, and Blizzard is just they are the cream of the crop. They like when I say my favorite developers of all time, it's Nintendo and Blizzard. Those guys always nail it. Now, of course, I'm sure that there have been times where they haven't. But Overwatch is an amazing game, and I've been playing it a lot lately. Ever since they added the wrecking ball, the hamster in a giant metal ball that rolls around and can grapple to the ceiling and swing around. Oh my god, that is so incredibly fun and satisfying when you grapple to the exact right point in the ceiling and you swing forward and you knock 3 or 4 enemies off the point so that your team can come in and capture it. It's just an amazing feeling, and I love Overwatch. So that's my whatever the category is, the
guest choice.
freebie.
Yeah, the freebie. I call it Blizzard Pop. That's what I call it. Blizzard have a certain way of making a game. When you're playing a Blizzard game, you know you're playing a Blizzard game. People who know me know my horrible addiction to Hearthstone, and it's not because it's a great card game. It's a terrible card game but it's Blizzard make a good game in the fact that it's a terrible mechanical style card game because you just slap the enemy and that's about it. But it's when a card pops down and it does all that, and Overwatch is the same. When you play a certain character, and as you said, it kind of feels different from every single character. And you know you're playing Mei from Hanzo. They all have their own characteristics and their own personality, and I call that kind of Blizzard pop. And even World of Warcraft, as we mentioned earlier, still has that Blizzard pop that it had probably 12 years ago. And I did forget to ask: Are you going to be? Do you say you're pre-ordering the new expansion for WoW or not?
I'm considering it. I like, part of me says do it, but then another part of me is like, well, you got all this other crap to play. Are you really gonna focus on WoW? And one of my problems with World of Warcraft is whenever I play that game, I get to this. I wish it didn't have a subscription, because when I pay the subscription, I feel like I am required to play whether I want to or not. And most of the time I would be like, well, I feel like playing WoW. And then I say to myself, do I actually feel like playing WoW, or is it just because I paid that $15 this month and I want to get my money's worth?
Yeah.
If WoW went with a monetization model where it was a free to play game and they had like a battle pass system or something like that, I think that I would be all in on that game like completely, because it's just so good.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Blizzard. Blizzard is taking 2 of Runjump's categories. Now, this is where you can be as controversial as possible. I look forward to this one because viewers, this is where you can vote. So guys who are watching live on Twitch and listening, you still can vote as well. I will put out a poll on Twitter, which I'll explain the poll where you can find it in a second. And it's the game to bin. So at this point, you've played your games, you've grown a longer beard than you've got already, your hair's grown back, and you've just been rescued. It's about 20 years from the moment you were stranded as a castaway. What game are you going to leave on there? What game are you leaving on the island, never to be played by anybody ever again?
Wait. So not just me, like nobody can play the game?
Nobody. This is it. It is left there to just rot. Now, as I said, you can be as controversial. I mean, you could pick Halo if you wanted to, just to see what people said. So it's entirely up to you. It's how wicked you want to be.
Well, the way that I was thinking about it is, this is a game that I want this I only have 5 games that I can play.
Yep.
Right? So I want to bring a game that I would enjoy playing, and I would get everything out of it that I need to, and then I could leave it behind and not want to play it anymore, and I would be fine with that. So that was my thinking. I wasn't thinking that nobody else could play it, and that makes it a little more difficult. And I'm down to 2 categories, and one of them is from Nintendo and one of them is from Blizzard. So obviously Nintendo, Blizzard, I'm a big fanboy for that. So it's really hard.
Here we go. What we'll do is this.
All right.
But you can put both on the island. We'll make it a little bit easier for you, and you can put both. But by the end of the show, you've got to say one of them. So tell us both.
Okay. And you know what you ought to do? You ought to actually, in the future, you should have people bring 2 games to leave behind, and then have your voters pick which game gets left behind.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So Runner's going to give us his 2 games. Viewers,
all right, the first one is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I really like that game, and I think if I was stuck on the island, I would probably finish it. That being said, it doesn't pull me in the way that I would hope that it does, and I definitely feel like after I finished it, I probably would never touch it again, and I would be okay leaving it behind. Even though mechanically it's a fantastic game, and David Soliani did a wonderful job using Nintendo's IP to make a game which, when they first made the announcement, I was like, ooh, really? That sounds so bad. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, that is the first game that I will leave behind.
Yeah, you've already upset Joel, so there we go. Joel in chat has literally just fallen off his chair, died in the corner because Mario plus Rabbids was mentioned. His quote is, "No, not Mario plus Rabbids." So here we go. The Blizzard Morgan 13 has now time to upset her. So Run, you're about to split the internet. What's going to happen? So what is your second game? And the viewers and listeners, you get to choose this.
All right. My second game that I am willing to leave on the island is Hearthstone. I think Blizzard really nailed the mechanic of playing a card game like Magic the Gathering or whatever. And I've had a lot of fun playing Hearthstone. And because the reason I would want to bring it with me is because it's a game that is always evolving. It's always changing as you get new packs and things like that. And you know what? I can't talk to anybody on the island, so that's fine, because you can't talk to anybody in Hearthstone except to click on the thing and be like, LOL, or I can't remember the things that you say,
The
but it's
moats,
like
yeah.
well played or things like that. I feel like Hearthstone would keep me busy and I would get very, very good at it, which is not something that has ever happened. But I feel like by the time I left, I would be like, I'm okay not playing Hearthstone anymore. And I know that this is a deep cut for you, Zep, because you're a huge fan of Hearthstone. So I would leave Hearthstone behind.
It's difficult because if I turn around and went to my children, they would say leave Hearthstone too because they're fans of Mario plus Rabbids. So you really are going to split a lot of people's households with this one. So there you go, guys. You can vote. I will put the vote out on Twitter at that chap Zap at the end of the show, and we'll post it out with the with all the details. Joel has said also confirmed. Bill thinks Monopoly is better than Mario plus Rabbids.
So all right, I need to address this first off.
Go ahead.
Joel also listens to my podcast, and he knows that I think Monopoly is a big pile of garbage. But that's why I didn't bring it with me, because I'm stuck on an island for 20 years. I don't want to play Monopoly. So there you go.
I even said when we did our show back then, I found a Zelda Monopoly, and I said I was going to package this up to Run Jump, and he was like, I don't want that piece of garbage. I was like, wow, and it kind of proves how much he hates Monopoly. It was like, we can't play Monopoly. It's horrible, which is fair enough. And I agree, Monopoly on the Switch is just terrible. So there we go, guys. I want to, according to Bill, just before we finish, Monopoly takes 20 years to finish. Who knows?
That's accurate.
Yeah. So I want to thank everyone for joining me. Bill, thank you for being the first guest. We have rescued Bill. He is no longer a castaway. He's back on home soil, but he is missing 2 games. And as I said, there will be a vote for that. And you can vote which way you want. You can find this podcast over on the Switch Pixels website. That's switchpixels.fi. I need to edit that and actually have that correct. I'll do that in a sec. And you also can find me doing this live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/thatchapzap. And Run, where can they find you on Twitch?
Twitch.tv/Runjumpstomp.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Let us know what you think, and I will see you all next time. Thank you very much. Cool.
Awesome.
Sweet. Thank you very much, dude. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Hope you enjoyed that. That was fun to interview. I never really know how to interview people. It's like, you watch all these interviews on TV and they just sort of sit there intently listening to them, and they're like, and then they sort of just, and it's like, okay, maybe I'll be like that. But no, so thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't actually know how long the show will be. I haven't decided if this is going to be a new show or how it's going to fit yet. But guys, this will be edited over the weekend and then out live next week, or out for your listening pleasure next week. But that's it. Anything else you want to add, Ron?
No, man, that was fun. Thanks for asking me.
No worries, not a problem. I'll post the poll on your Discord as well.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, we'll put it up, and and then I look forward to seeing the results next week, because that's a decisive one. That's harsh. Mario Rabbids and Hearthstone. That's just no need for that. So anyway, thank you very much, dude. I will see you later, and I will catch you later. Bye.
See ya.